And let the counter begin. Oh, Lordy. Hello, hello, guest number one. Boy, my hair looks great, don't it? That's what happens when you've been sweating all day. Well, that didn't last long. Oh, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Yeah, we'll give it a few minutes to see if anybody pops in here. There's somebody else popped in. A little late for getting this one out tonight. I was out unloading firewood, and we had some unexpected visitors in our pasture that we had to attend to. My wife went on the defense on it, and turns out it was one of the other folks that were just off the street, and their cat lost their collar, and it's got a GPS tracker on it, and it was looking for it. Oh, goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Man, it's been a long week. Long week. Anyway, so there's a company that reached out to me, wanted me to try out their products, and it's Oxido LED. And I didn't want to do a review on it until I'd actually had them for a while and seen how they performed. And I got to say, I'm pretty impressed with them. They, excuse me, they seem to make a pretty good product, better than some of the others that I've seen out there on the market as far as aftermarket LEDs. I put a set in my fog lights for my Honda, and they are stupid bright. They're almost overkill in there, but almost. And of course, I don't drive at night much anymore, not like I used to. Uh, just don't care to as I get older. Plus, there's nowhere to go at night, for old farts. Hello, number two guest. Oh, that didn't last long. They just dropped in to say hello. Didn't even drop in to say hello. It's like, yeah, this guy's boring. I'm leaving. Anyway, been pretty impressed with them. They've got a pretty good website. I need to set that up so you guys can see it. They'll even give you a discount off your order. I need to talk to them about that though, because it's not enough. Now when they're offering 15% off their normal sale, they need to do the same for putting it out there, But I'm not one for good for advertisers. That just happens to be one of the good ones. And I do believe the website is UXITO. I think it's Oxido. Yep. So we'll put that down there in the comment line. go check those people out. What's up, Scott? It's just you and I for right now. I don't think anybody else is here. Uh, I kind of, like I said, I kind of forgot about it. I've been outside unloading wood, so I managed to knock a block, a concrete block out of my. Hey, Steven. Knock a concrete block off my fire pit, and it landed right on my shin. Of course, tore my shin up, and that hurt like the dickens. It's still sore, but at any rate, yeah, go check out those Oxido if you need some LEDs. Oh goodness. Well, Scott, it's kind of hard to do this and drive at the same time. I hope you're not doing that. I know I'm not that talented. Besides that, knowing me, I'd get busted. So, anyway, so they get that new hurricane out there, Hurricane Lee. Um, Looks like the way they're saying is it's probably going to cut north. And they're saying that the line is supposed to be come in around Nova Scotia. So it's going to miss us this time. So, at any rate, yeah, if you go to Oxido, if you need some LEDs for your car, use the uh, coupon code IROCKNZ, and they'll give you 10% off your order. So that's they've got some good quality stuff. The packing was really good. I need to do a video on it and I need to get another set because, like I said, I've already got the other ones in the car. But I plan on switching my low beams over to LED. They are projectors on the Honda, and they would make a good addition. My wife's car, Ruby, uh, it's already got LEDs from the factory. And the way the high beams work on that one is it's just got like a shutter on the inside. So on low beams, it blocks part of the bulb. And when you turn high beams on, that shutter opens up and you get the whole bulb. But hers could stand to be a little brighter too. But we're not too concerned with that. Excuse me, I do want to get some LEDs for her fog lights because they would make it a heck of a lot brighter. And might not that she drives much at night either, but it's just for the fact of the matter to have it. But they got all sorts of stuff on there, so I mean, check them out. I don't think you'd be disappointed. It's up there at the top of the chat list for Oxido.com. Seem to be pretty decent. Stephen, I've still got those 2 or 3 that have already been uploaded. I just have not had time to get back to do some thumbnails for them. That's the only thing I'm waiting on to release them. But I got some thumbnails for it. Got the 350 turbo done. In fact, the customer come and picked that up today. I have videos on that. I haven't started editing yet, but since I got everybody else's project done, I might be able to actually start getting some videos edited. I've got, let's see, I probably got a good 20 videos that I haven't even got to yet. They're, might be a little old, but I'm doing what I can with what time I've got. Time is pretty valuable. So, football season is here, boys. Hot dog football season is here. Kind of disappointed my Chiefs lost, though. It's pretty bad when they lost the very first NFL game of the season. And then number 2, they lost it at home. Number 3, they lost it to Detroit of all teams. They only lost by 1 though, so I got to give them credit. They were pushing, but they didn't have a good enough defense to keep the Lions from scoring at all. I was kind of disappointed with that one, but hey, it's the first game. Get the first game jitters out, and let's move on and have another good season. Maybe they'll get another chance at the Super Bowl. But hello, guest number 4. Thank you for stopping by. Drop a line and say hello if you get a chance. Yeah, but I'm pretty stoked about football season. So I didn't pay attention to who's playing tomorrow, but I know it's not my Kansas City. I think Steelers are playing tomorrow. That's my other team. I've always been a Steelers fan since I was knee high to a grasshopper. I don't know. It's just something about the Steelers I liked. Maybe it was when Terry Bradshaw was playing for him. I don't know. Roethlisberger wasn't bad. Let's see who. Oh, that's my phone going in sleep mode. I forget about that. But yeah, I'm totally ready for football season. So we had some unexpected guests in our pasture tonight, as the wife and I were out enjoying a fire. Finally, I picked up some wood. Last weekend, a bunch of wood. A buddy of mine cut down some trees, and he had some from the storm damage. And anyway, I was unloading that and got ready to go in, and wife goes, "Field now." And I look out there, and sure enough, there's some old boy back there in the back of our field walking around. I'm like, what the heck is he doing back there? Well, come to find out, it was our neighbor that's just to the north of us, and they had a cat that goes outside, and they had a collar with a tracker on it. And this tracker's not small, and his cat's pretty small. Anyway, he was out there looking for the collar because I guess the cat had got the collar off. And hey, what's up, Doc? So they were out there in the field looking for their collar, and I'm like, well, wouldn't it have been nice to let somebody know that you're gonna come in our yard or pasture and stuff. And so we went down there and we actually met them, and they're really nice folks. And turns out, and long story short, I ended up finding a collar between me and the husband that was out there. We found it, but what's up, Mike? Yeah, I'm a little late for getting on tonight. I said I was going to try to do it at 8 o'clock, but I'd been outside doing stuff while I still had some light, which, it gets dark pretty early anymore. But anyway, I ended up finding a collar for them, and they were tickled to death. And we actually gabbed for a little bit, and really nice folks. So anyway, well, I wish they'd break here. I mean, it actually wasn't too bad today, but they're calling for uh, low 90s again still next week, unless they changed it. Uh, like I said, it wasn't too bad today. It was a nice break. It was 85 at 6:15, so that's not too bad. Let's see. All right. Well, they lowered it a little bit. Nah, it's supposed to be 90s. 90 Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, it's supposed to get 87 for a high with a low of 64. That's going to be nice. I tell you what, with I'm kind of glad I hadn't sold my bike yet because they're talking about gas prices going way up again. Oh, Mike, you're making me jealous. Yeah, they're talking about gas prices getting ready to go up again. And I was talking to my mom tonight or this afternoon. I told her, I says, I wouldn't be surprised if gas makes it up to $5 by Christmas. Hydraulic roller. Yeah, that was a common practice, Scott. They did all the roller cams on a cast iron core. It's not like they do uh, billet steel on everything, and the new ones are made of steel, but they're hollow. The new LS cams. Um, but yeah, all the old cores used to be ground on cast iron. Won't hurt a thing. They wear pretty good as long as they're heat treated properly. They will. I mean, they're not like you buy an aftermarket cam. It's usually a billet core, and then they ground it on a billet piece of steel. The aftermarket camshafts are so much better quality than the factory ones are. But yeah, they ground all the cams on cast iron back then. They were cheaper to manufacture that way. Ah, there you go, Mike. Yeah, ours isn't broke, so I don't think that'd work too well. No, not at all. I mean, I've never seen such a mess. I've been pretty blessed, and I think about things that I've done in the past that the good Lord has watched out for me and let me make the correct decisions at the correct time. Um, as I think He was preparing me for things to come. A couple years ago, when we first bought this house, we were on an ARM, um, adjustable rate mortgage, in other words, and our 5 years was coming up. And I said, as soon as we get out of that 5 years, I want to get the house refinanced. Well, I wanted to do it earlier, but since I ended up having to go through a BR um, with my business that I had up there, it kind of screwed things up on my timeline. So as soon as I got enough clear of that, I refinanced the house, and I'm so glad that I did. Because I mean, I guess the mortgage rate right now is like 7.1% on a home mortgage. Are you kidding me? That's just terrible. I'm tickled to death. Even though the one I got a 4 point I got a 4.6 when I refinanced, and that was high. I thought that was astronomical for a house, but looking back, I'm glad I got what I got. So, selling a house is not the right thing to do because you're not going to get a good interest rate going into another one. Yeah, Scott. Most all your aftermarket ones are on the steel core. Um, they both have their pluses and minuses, but um, the factory did it because the cast iron was so much cheaper to produce. The cores were much cheaper. It was easier to forge them. That's why you don't ever want to drop a cast iron camshaft because that dude will be done. It'll break. Oh my goodness, Mike. Wow. Well, when we were buying Ruby, um, they come back to me and I work at the dealership I bought this thing from, and they come back to me with an interest rate of like 10%. I says, there is no, I told them, I says, you need to go back into the drawing board because there is no way that I'm paying 10% on a used car. Uh, I could expect, 4 to 6% somewhere in that, uh, which I think I got like 6.1%, something like that on, on Ruby, which I'm okay with, especially since I'm still trying to build my credit back up after going through the bankruptcy. But yeah, the interest rates are out of control. So, how about all the latest rumors going around about Obama Nation and his preference in partners? I I thought that was kind of humor. And then Michael, it makes more sense with Michael being in the picture. Somebody's going to get some ads here in about 45 seconds. Excuse me. Yeah, it's crazy. I guess Tucker Carlson broke that story, and I was like, wow. Yeah, but like I was telling Mom, I says, we're blessed to be able to be where we're at, with things the way they are. Because it's tough, and it's not going to get any easier. Um, I've never seen so much greed and so much evil in my life. It just absolutely amazes me. I do a lot of praying that the good Lord will take care of us the best way He knows how, and that the evils that are among us that are running our government will get what they justly deserve. It'll all wash out. I just hope that we can have an election, next November. for groceries. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right, Doc. It's always been there, but it took somebody like the 45 to bring it to light, and kind of glad he did. But my goodness, they have done everything in their power to go after this man, and you got to be careful because uh, they're starting to go after VR, and I I'd hate to see that dude would be an excellent candidate for 47. So yeah, they're coming after him too, and that's because apparently they see him as a threat. There's just there People are flat evil, but anyway, that's just opinions that I from things that I see. I make my own analysis of it. Oh Lord, that's one person I don't think should be in there, Mike. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that I think she's not a choice. She doesn't need to be a choice anyway. I think she's a little on the strange side. Well, she's run 3 times on an independent. How come I've never seen it? Maybe it's because it was on an independent. So how's that going to work if you have an independent status? So you're going to get ballots for both Dems and Republicans, or are you only going to get the independents on there? And if somebody's a Republican candidate, you're just SOL, not going to be able to run. Roseanne, religious? No. I'd never pictured her as being a religious person. The one they had her on some podcast for the other day, some dude was interviewing her. Boy, that woman was cussing like a sailor. I mean, she was all over the board. I didn't even know she had a podcast, Doc. I don't know how to get to half of these podcasts. I'm not that smart at this stuff. I mean, I try, but I'm not that great in it. I think I lost Steven already and Scott. Well, Scott was driving. That's right. He said he was driving. He's on his way home from the grocery store. So he was just going to listen. Well, I know, but Doc, I don't have a whole lot of time to sit down and do YouTube. I mean, I see occasional one, and of course, y'all may say, "Oh, that's gross," but you know what? I don't know people that don't do it. Is they'll take their phone in there while you're on the throne and catch up on some stuff in there. No, say it ain't true, Mike. Just like everything else that's like corporate media does, is they get stuff out of context. Anyway, So doing the church thing again tomorrow. We have a guest pastor in, Pastor Hudson. That's good. Pastor Hudson is filling in for Pastor Fair. Pastor Fair had a family emergency he had to attend to, so he's up in New Jersey. You know, anybody in the right mind that doesn't see what good he did for the country, and all they talk about is his attitude. Um, those are the ones that are basically voting on emotion, which that's not the right thing to do. Just because you don't like the guy as a person or as his ego, uh, you have to look at what he's done for the country and what good he's done for the country, and how prosperous the country was when he was in office. That's the things that you should be looking at. You know, I don't think, Mike, I don't think there's enough time to go through all the things that have to do with the greed and lust. There's just so much of it. I know you, Doc. I mean, I'm not doubting you by any means. That's true. I mean, they'll play on the strings of people, and make them not see what's really happening, which is sad. I don't know if holding this mic helps any or not, or makes it any louder, but I didn't want to have to shout, if you know what I mean, or talk loud for that matter. Yeah, I mean, it's and it seems to be a topic of conversation a lot of times, and somehow we'll relate the Bible study on Sunday into the same thing that's going on in the world, just because it somewhat relates. But yeah, for sure. Goodness gracious, I can't quit yawning. Getting tired. Well, I can tell you I've put out a bunch of applications trying to find something different to do. Because I'm getting to the point where I'm ready to hang up the wrenches doing it for a living. I'd love to keep doing it on the side, but I just doing it for somebody in a dealership, it's just left me such a bad taste in my mouth. Getting short of time left and right, trying to make a living, trying to get ahead, and it's just not working. And I thought me putting out applications with my work experience and my knowledge in the field, that it would be much easier to find a job than most other people. And I tell you what, there is nobody that likes to call anybody back here in Florida. I mean, you just might as well give it up. Um, I'm trying to get into maybe a management position. I tried to do it at the company I'm at now, and that hasn't worked either. I keep getting laughed at, and like, it's like, well, do you know this and this? Well, I said, no. I says, I'm being honest with you. I says, but I learned pretty fast, and I've had my own business. I know how to run a shop. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's just getting to the point where I don't want to be the one turning the wrenches anymore. Be honest with you, I'd love to just build transmissions in my shop, um, and not have to go into work. Just do stuff around here, but I don't have enough confidence that I want if I was to do this YouTube thing full time that it would benefit me in any way enough to where I could, make a living at it. I mean, I'm just not one of those people that's like these guys that do it, all day long and they got millions and millions of followers and sponsorship deals and all sorts of stuff. I'm just not that type of person. I just don't think that it would be profitable for me. Um, but I do enjoy doing the transmissions, and I would love to be able to do them at the house, and that's all I did. But convincing the wifey that's the route I want to go would not go over well, because I told her that after we closed this business, I wouldn't do another one. Yo, what's up, Truth Jester? Welcome to the chat room. But yeah, I mean, if I could figure out a way to make it work out of the house, I would be tickled to death. Um, we build you one that runs. I don't not quite following you on that one, Doc. All my transmissions have worked that I've built. Of course, that would be cool to have a dyno, transmission dyno. We had one of those in tech school when I was going through that back in the early 90s. Yeah, I'm showing my age. It was a Iron Duke that ran on propane, but it was a transmission dyno, and that thing was pretty neat. The thing burned clean. Yeah, but Vice Grip Garage has got a few years on me. He's quite a bit younger than I am, in a whole lot better shape. I'm just not, I'm not financially comfortable. Um, I don't have enough, since oh, whatever they called Bidenomics took over. It's pretty much wiped out all of our savings and all of our stash that we had. Um, so we're basically like everybody else now. We're living paycheck to paycheck. So me without a paycheck would be detrimental to being able to keep the house. And right now, that's not a good choice. Uh, need to be able to keep the house. Need a roof over our heads, and need to be able to keep food on the table. And I guess I don't have enough confidence in myself to be able to do it again like I did before, because it would create a lot of turmoil in our household, between the wife and I, obviously, because I'm doing my own thing again, and she wouldn't think highly of it at all. So I try to keep the peace. The things that you do when you're in a marriage to that you want to have work, things kind of change your priorities. That's why I closed the businesses, is because she said, if you don't get out of this, I'm going to be burying you. Which, in a way, she was right. Um, but the way that it went was not the right direction. I think it would have made it. It just, at the time. But I'd love to be able to do like a, um, home based business. Not where I'd have cars and open doors to the public. It'd be only, um, I wouldn't be able to work on anybody's car. They can bring me a transmission and I'll build it, and ship it out the door. There's only one problem with that. I mean, you worry about the people that you build a transmission for. Do they actually know what they're doing, if they're going to swap it themselves, or if they're going to pay somebody to put it in? You know, uh, a big thing is if they don't get the torque converter all the way in when they're installing it, and they try to put it up there, and oh well, it doesn't fit. I said, and so let's just force it, and they end up breaking the pump because they, they bust the gears on the inside. That's what I worry about. And you get to the point where you think about, well, if I give this transmission, how do I know that if they blow it up, that they're going to actually tell you the truth, that what they actually did and why it failed? They're never going to tell you that. They're never going to tell you what exactly happened to it. If they screwed it up, and they know they screwed it up, they're going to try to get out of it so they can not have to pay for a warranty or pay for another rebuild because they screwed it up. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, Mike. If they bring me the whole vehicle, because that way I know that it's going to be installed right. Um, I mean, especially on my performance builds, and I'd rather see the thing go in and make sure that it's right, and that way, if something's wrong with it, I can catch it before it even leaves back to the customer. That way, everything's right. That was my point behind that, because I mean, the guys that I've done before, I've stood behind every one of their transmissions just because I know how things work. You know, just like uh, CJ's transmission. If you guys have watched the videos, it came back a couple of times because of stuff that broke. Um, he paid for the parts, and I repaired it for him, and I covered the labor for him, just because, I mean, for one, he was a friend, and It's his boy's car and truck, and I knew what he was doing with it. I knew he was racing it. But his other boy, I did his, and that one was fine. I did another one for one of the other guys that used to work with. He's got it in a Suburban. It's working fine. Did one for, you haven't seen it yet, but it's coming. It's Ray's 4L65. I did that one, and that one had a failed part that was supplied by the um, shift improver kit. It was a Hughes. Yeah, it was a Hughes. No, not one of Hughes. Oh, it was part of Fairbanks. It was a Fairbanks power tow kit, and one of the pieces that they give you with it, you put in the input housing uh, for the 3/4 clutch bleed, and that valve failed, and it burned up the 3/4 clutch. So I went and replaced that, and of course he had valve body. And then he had a valve body problem, or a PC solenoid problem. We fixed that. Then he had a valve body problem. I told him, I said, you need to replace the valve body, and so we put a valve body in. It's been fine ever since. Wow, that's a lot of miles. Truth Jester, most of those cars are designed to run at 195 degrees. 160 thermostat to me is too cold. Because here's what happens: you'll get it up to 160 degrees, and that water will circulate. But when that thing's running that way, it doesn't have time to cool off in the radiator. I mean, that's why they want to run them as warm as they do, so they have a chance to cool off in the radiator. These cars always ran warm from day one. I remember growing up with them. My buddies IROC and my TAs that I had, um, my formula that I had, all of them did that. Sitting there at idle, it'd run up about 220. As soon as you get rolling, it'd cool right back down. Um, it's just the nature of the way. I don't like it. I mean, it's the way they designed the car. Is there ways to improve on it? Yes. Um, Obviously, since yours cools right down, you still have the chin spoiler underneath the car, and that was the most important part. Half the time, that chin spoiler would be missing, or it's a little air deflector that hangs down in front of hangs down from the core support, and it forces air up into the radiator. And a lot of times, those get ripped off, and then they're missing, and then they'll heat up going down the highway. But I mean, if it's not heating up and going down the highway, then the thing's still there. But they've always run warm. I've always run a 192 thermostat in it, 190 thermostat, and that seemed to be the best scenario. Um, the fan setup on it though was anemic, and that was all they had at the time. The fan technology has improved a bunch. The biggest improvements they can do for them is a better flowing radiator. Uh, most of them were single or two core. They make a 3-core aluminum that would be a great upgrade, and some better some better fans that flow more air, um, and make sure it's got a shroud on it so it pulls all the air through the radiator. Oh, Mike, I could only imagine how bad it was inside there with 750K on it. Good night. That's a lot of miles. Anyway. Well, fellers, I am going to call it a night. Because I'm going to go get in the shower and get cleaned up before I hit the sack. And I got to get up and go to church in the morning, do their YouTube channel. So I thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Y'all make sure on these hot days, make sure to take care of your loved ones, and make sure to check on them. And until next time, Smitty saying so long. Goodbye. Au revoir. Arrivederci. All that good stuff. See you next week. Bye bye.